Welcome to this edition of the SAU Report. I'm Joanna Eaton.
And I'm DeCarlo Collins.
Today with us we have Shelby Carl, a junior here at SAU, and she is a theater major and secondary education major. Hi, Shelby.
Hi, Joanna.
This is only your second year here at SAU. Where did you come from?
I was born and raised in Arizona, in Phoenix, Arizona, and I decided for my first year of college to go to Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff, Arizona. I thought it would be the perfect distance away from my parents. It was about 2 hours, but it actually ended up being not far enough or not close enough, I'm not sure, but it wasn't the right choice for me.
I bet your parents miss you though, but out of all the schools in the world, why did you come here to SAU?
When I decided not to go back to Northern Arizona University, I started to look for universities where around people that I knew, where I would be comfortable and where I would have a family member or a friend of the family that would be close by if I needed anything. And my aunt and uncle live in Magnolia and teach here at SAU.
So were there any colleges that you were interested in?
The only other college that I really looked at was Middle Tennessee State University, and I had worked in Nashville, Tennessee as a nanny the summer before I came to SAU, and I had made some friends there and had some friends there, so I was looking around that area.
So you came here to be pretty much closer to your aunt, right?
Yeah.
Before you decided to make this your home, did you ever visit here before?
I did. I actually visited SAU my senior year of high school. I came down for a homecoming weekend and went to the game and met some people when I was here then.
How does Magnolia and the School of SAU different from the college you first came from in the town?
Well, it's quite a bit smaller, first of all. The class sizes are a lot smaller, which is something that I really enjoy about SAU. And there's also more of a family home feeling at SAU as opposed to the bigger university in Northern Arizona.
Coming from the school where you came from, did you find it kind of easy to fit in here?
It was a little difficult at first. I was out of my element. I was at a new part of the country. I had been raised in the West, primarily in the Phoenix area. And so just the transition from big city life to small town life was a little bit difficult.
You're a double major in theater and secondary English education, and you first started out with early childhood education. Why did you change?
Part of the requirement in going into any area of education is to take an introduction to education class. And during that class, we got the opportunity to go out and volunteer in some schools and sit in different grade levels of classrooms. Mm-hmm. And during that experience, I got to sit in a first grade classroom, a third grade classroom, a sixth grade classroom, and a high school classroom. And I found that I really connected with the older students better, and I really enjoyed working with the older students a lot more.
Would you like to teach here in Arkansas, or would you like to move to another state or another region of the United States?
I think that I'd probably like to go somewhere else other than Arkansas. I probably won't go back to Phoenix either. I'd just like to experience something new.
What does your aunt teach here at school?
She teaches graduate programs and graduate classes in counseling. Mm-hmm. She works in the graduate studies program.
Do you feel that your aunt has been an inspiration or a role model to you? Do you feel that teachers in general are inspirations?
My aunt has definitely been a role model to me. She's an incredible woman. Anyone who gets the opportunity to work with her should feel blessed. There's not a person on this earth better than my aunt. And she really teaches that. She teaches counselor education, which is taking it a step farther than being a teacher. Mm-hmm. And really getting to know the students and finding out how you can help students. And she's just an incredible woman, and all teachers are just incredible people, and she's one of the big reasons why I decided I wanted to be a teacher.
I know one of the biggest concerns with teachers are getting paid. Do you feel teachers are underpaid in their profession, whatever they decide to teach?
Definitely. Education is one of the most important things there is in this country. It's the only way that people can make themselves better. And they pay all of these people to do incredible things, and yet here's teachers that provide kids with the things that they need to go out into the world and make something of themselves, and they don't get paid hardly anything for it.
So does it bother you when like a entertainer or a athlete or any other type of profession that doesn't deal with education or anything, does that bother you when they get paid higher than what a teacher get paid?
To some extent, yes. I've also been on the other end of the entertainment thing, and I know how hard it is. It's definitely not something that's easy, but at the same time, education is so important, and those entertainers wouldn't be where they were if they didn't have the educations, a lot of them, that they've had. So, yeah, sometimes it is kind of frustrating.
Do you feel that some teachers just do it, for the rewarding experience of being able to help a child grow, and teach them things? Do you feel that they sometimes just think about that instead of the money when it comes to the money part?
I think that all of the excellent teachers that there are out there, that's what they're in it for. They're in it for the rewards, the intrinsic rewards that they receive when they watch a student learn something new, and not for the money. But there's also a lot of teachers out there who use it as kind of something to fall back on. They get a degree in, say, English or history, and they don't know what to do with it. So they're like, well, I'll be a teacher, when that's not necessarily what they want to do. And so they kind of go about teaching in an uninspired way, and the students don't really learn anything from them.
You're also involved in Sigma Delta. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sigma Tau Delta is the English honorary fraternity. I just found out that I was nominated to be in the organization this semester, and we've had a couple meetings, and the big thing that we've been focusing on recently is a conference coming up next spring, and getting works together to send in and submit to the conference in Daytona Beach, Florida, so that we can try to better ourselves as writers and English majors.
Do they do any type of volunteer work for children, so to speak, or anything?
They do. Something we talked about actually at our last meeting is getting together with, I think it's Kappa Delta Pi, the educational fraternity, and going out into the schools and reading to students children's books. And so that's something that we're working on doing right now.
Do you think that, like any other organization, including like the honor societies, do you think they still should get involved in community works, including like working with kids, or just working with like adults who don't know how to read, or any other little things that might matter the most?
Definitely. I think anything extra that you do on top of your major in school, just to give you more experience with the world and the types of people that you will meet and have to deal with throughout your life, is a beneficial experience.
You're also involved in the Emerging Writers Club. What exactly is this?
The Emerging Writers Club is really just a group of students that get together and share their works and respond to each other's works. It's not necessarily a critique. We get together every other Wednesday and just sit around and read what we've written to each other. And
help each other with ideas,
yeah.
or anything? Yeah.
Do you critique each other with like your different writing styles, like poetry or short stories or even novels, let's say, like that?
There's definitely all different types of writing that goes on in the Emerging Writers Club, but I don't think I would necessarily call it critiquing. It's more of responding, giving positive feedback, letting people know that we appreciate that they've taken the time to write something and share it with us.
Do you ever get together and present the works to students at SAU?
We do.
Poetry readings or anything?
A couple weeks ago, we actually had a coffee house, and they do it once a semester in the lobby of Brinson's Fine Arts. And we get together, and it's open. Anyone can come and read. You don't have to be a member of the Emerging Writers Club to read, but a lot of the members do get up and read and just share their work with any students who are willing to come.
If I'm a student who wants to get involved, who can I contact, or how can I just, come get involved with this group?
Dr. Shannon Schrader, I believe, is the sponsor of the Emerging Writers Club, and Jennifer Matthews is the president. and the Emerging Writers Club meets every other Wednesday at 4:30 in Wilson 316.
So just anyone could really just walk in and,
Yeah.
get involved?
Mhm.
That's good. Okay, you're also involved in theater on campus, and that's also your second major. How'd you get involved?
I got involved in theater when I first came to SAU. It was one of the first things that I got involved in. I had a Lit 2 class with Dr. Dan Skelton, who is now no longer at SAU. But there was 8 or 9 theater majors in that class. And they just really befriended me and kind of brought me into their group and encouraged me to get involved in the theater and work on The Boys Next Door and do behind-the-scenes things.
For someone who doesn't have a major yet, or for a freshman who might be interested, what would you tell them?
Even if you aren't a theater major and you think that theater might be something you might like to try out, you might like to try out acting or some other aspect of theater, I would say just come out and audition. You really don't have anything to lose. If you let people in the theater department know that you're interested, they'll find some way to include you, even if it's not necessarily on stage, because I, for sure, when I first got involved, wasn't on stage. And there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that I didn't even know about when I first got involved. So I would just say to anybody who thinks they might even want to get involved, just to come try out and see what it's all about.
Yeah, because there's lots of things to do, because all the students design their own stuff, the costumes, the makeup, and the scenery and stuff, and anyone could just, help out with, painting the set or anything.
Right.
If they want to get involved. You were most recently in the first production this year at SAU, Baby with the Bathwater. Could you tell us about that play?
It was a very bizarre, fun little play to be in. It was interesting. It was a challenging play for it to be my first play, my debut on Harton. I played 4 different characters in the play, and that was really challenging in itself, to have to develop 4 different characters and figure out how they fit into the plot of the play. But it was really exciting, and I'm really glad I got the opportunity to be in it.
This is your first major performance. How do you feel people felt about your performance in this movie, in this play, and your other cast members?
Personally, I felt like, being a beginning actor, not ever having been on the stage before, I gave it all I had to give, and I worked really hard. I got lots of positive feedback, specifically for me, just running into people around campus. The most feedback I got was that they didn't recognize me, because our hair and makeup designer, Julie Nooner, decided to put me in wigs for several of the scenes, and so they didn't know it was me until the very end. But it was a lot of fun, and I think that we did a great job with the play, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback. People really enjoyed it, and they thought it was really funny.
You're also taking this play to the Arkansas College Theater Festival. What exactly is the festival about?
Really, it's just a way for the different theater departments all over Arkansas to get together and kind of share and learn from each other. We'll perform for each other, and we'll get to critique each other, and there will be adjudicators there to kind of tell us some good things we've done and some bad things we've done, and some things that we can work on to make ourselves better performers and better designers and just a better theater department as a whole.
I know I'm not an actor, but if I had that opportunity, I would be nervous with someone coming up telling me what I did right and what I did wrong. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like you would be nervous hearing what other people have to say that you don't know?
I am a little bit nervous. Mostly, I think, because it'll be my first experience at this festival, and it was also my first experience on stage, which was a little nerve-wracking in itself. So I'm nervous, but I know that, the only thing that I can really do is go out there and give it all I've got, and they can think what they want about it. I know that I did my best.
Our next production is Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, Jimmy Dean. And you are in that. Could you give us a sneak peek as to what's going to happen in this play or anything to look forward to?
This next play is going to be a really fun play, even more so, I think, than Baby with the Bathwater. We have a great cast, and it's a very well-written play. It basically is about some fans of James Dean that get together for a 20th anniversary reunion of his death, and just kind of see how they've changed over the years, and you learn a little bit about the characters and about their lives, and it's going to be a really neat play.
You have a guest director in Stacey Bean. Tell us a little bit about him.
Stacey Bean is a really cool guy. I'm really excited that we are going to get the opportunity to work with him. He is from Arkadelphia, Arkansas, and he got his degree in counselor education, and he worked as an assistant dean of students at another college. And he, when he was 30 years old, decided that he didn't want to be an educator anymore, that he didn't really think that that was his calling, and decided to go to New York and wait tables and be a playwright. And it's very neat to kind of get a different experience coming from incredibly educated theater people like Kristen Larson and Daryl Philippi, and they just have set ways, and they know all of the terms and the theater lingo. Mm-hmm. But Stacey doesn't, he's learned through experience. He doesn't really have that theater edge on him. He's just a really nice guy, and I can tell he's going to be really fun to work with. I'm very excited.
Kind of on that same note, you were also in the 10-minute plays last year, and that was with a first-time director from the directing class. How is it different working with a first-time director compared to someone that's directed many productions?
I think the biggest thing that you find with first-time directors is their confidence. I had an incredible student director, but she still kind of was inhibited. She didn't know if what she was doing was the right thing, and she didn't...
More of a learning experience.
Yeah, it was more of a learning experience, and it was a learning experience for all of us. That was the very first thing that I had ever been in, and so she kind of had to give me a lot of ideas and let me know. I hadn't had any acting classes at that point. Mm-hmm. But it was a lot of fun, and she was really fun to work with, and she made it fun for us, and I really enjoyed working with her.
I look at TV, I look at plays, when I watch movies, I see that acting might be easy towards me. But when I talk to people who has already been in like different type of events, they say it's the hardest job in the world. Do you feel that way? And if so, what ways does it make it hard?
I think the hardest job in the world might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but it definitely isn't easy. You have to take a lot of time to develop your characters, to know your characters. You have to know everything about your characters, how they walk, how they talk, what they ate for breakfast. I mean, everything that they do makes them who they are, and you have to find a way to become that person. And it's really hard because I'm used to going out and walking around the campus and being friendly with everyone and being me, as opposed to getting on stage and having to play, you know, a crazy homeless woman or a soccer mom or a teacher. It's a little bit, it's difficult to try to become something you're not, and you have to put a lot of time and effort into it in order to make it believable.
How would you like to incorporate theater into the education field? Or do you feel like they connect in some way?
I definitely feel like they connect. I feel like education, in some sense, should be a theatrical production. All students need to be involved in all aspects of education, and I think that theater would be a great tool to help teach, especially English, my second major. And so I'm looking forward to using those two hand in hand to teach both theater and English, and just really get kids excited about both theater and English.
I noticed you were part of President's Ambassador. Tell us, how did you get involved with that?
I was actually nominated by Mrs. Vassar, and you had to apply after you were nominated, and then we went in front of a panel of interviewers, I guess, and they asked us questions, and you had to go through a formal interview, and then you had to meet with students, and a big part of what the President's Ambassadors do is telecounseling and reaching out to prospective students for SAU. And you have to do a trial phone call, a mock phone call, and see how you would respond in different situations to questions that you may not necessarily know the exact right answer about SAU. So,
pretty prestigious honor to be one, I guess. As a President's Ambassadors, are you required to go to like such events as mule gating or anything?
There are events that we're required to attend. Mule gating is optional for us most of the time. Tomorrow, for example, for homecoming, it will be mandatory that we are all there participating and helping out the president and the alumni with anything that they need help with. So,
one of the biggest things I learned about president's ambassadors is you have to keep a good image about yourself. Do you feel that's most important before you get involved with this type of organization?
I do think it's important. Joanna mentioned that it is a prestigious organization, and it is. I feel very lucky to be a part of this organization. But as part of this organization, you are the voice of the people. When we talk to Dr. Rankin, and we do meet with him frequently and bring to him issues of the students. And so I think that that's very important for us as representatives of the president, of the students, and of the school to keep a very good image.
So do students usually come up to you with problems? Do they recognize you on campus?
I think it's easier for students to recognize us when we're dressed up,
Yeah.
but there's definitely, if you recognize someone that's a president's ambassador and you have a concern, you can always let them know, and we can bring it up in our meetings with President Rankin. Or we have an office in Nelson 223, and you can always come up there and let us know if there's anything that we can do for you that you need help with.
You're one busy student, and I know you keep a daily planner too, probably. So how do you manage being a president's ambassador, part of the theater department, education? How do you just keep yourself intact?
It's definitely not easy. I have to make choices a lot of times on what activities I choose to do when. Of course, with President's Ambassador things, when it's mandatory, it's a little bit different. Those become priority. But I think that keeping such a busy schedule and having such a structured time has really helped me as a person and a student. It keeps me from being able to procrastinate about my homework and not being able to learn my lines or not being able to be at certain events because I have to keep my time so structured. And it helps me out a lot as a person, I think, too, because I think that's all part of life. I definitely don't think it's going to get any easier from here on out.
On a different note, there's a lot of construction going on at the school, and finally when everything gets built, do you think SAU is going to become more appealing and reach out to more students who want to come here?
I hope so. SAU is a very appealing school. It was to me. Just the family environment, an atmosphere that they bring you into, and just made me feel like I was a part of SAU from the very first day I set foot on this campus. I think it's a wonderful place. They have some great things going on with the new construction, that they're building new dorms and
The Reynolds Center.
And they also have the blue and gold plan to revamp buildings around campus that need to be fixed in some ways.
Do you feel that SAU does it have a lot to offer? I know it's a small school, small town, in the middle of nowhere, but do you feel like SAU has a lot to show future students and people interested if they want to come here?
I think SAU has a great deal to show people. Part of the reason that brought me here was the fact that it was a small school, and I really liked that about SAU. Also, I don't think that I would be able to be involved in as many things as I am, as actively as I am at a larger school. I think it would be really difficult for me to have a double major and be a president's ambassador and be involved in all the other activities I'm involved in if I were at a bigger school. And I think that that's a great thing that SAU has to offer.
Well, Shelby, we wish you the best of luck, and thank you for watching this edition of the SAU Report.